My name is Jason. Welcome back to Professor Sports Cards. On this episode, we have some eBay nonsense. It's actually a pretty good question. And then we're looking at pop counts and going over significant of pop counts and finally taking a look at some Pokemon.
You know, you're not Willy Wonka. This isn't your chocolate factory.
Start every episode the same. I can't make these too difficult because no one wants to look at a $2 chart at the end of the video. But at the end of the video, we're going to do a deep dive on price, pop count, and everything in between on this card. Comment below whose rookie card is this and what year.
Deals and Bonds hits one high. It's a deep. It is out of here.
This is the eBay nonsense I was talking about. It's actually a good question. How long do you wait for payment on an auction eBay before you relist the item? So someone wins the auction and they don't pay, they don't say anything. How long do you wait to relist it and cancel the sale? Our first comment here says, I wait 4 days unless the buyer communicates. I think the key word here is going to be communicate. I once had a guy ask to wait until he got paid till the end of the week. He was happy to wait a few extra days and good on communication, and the sale went well. And I think that matters. Now, if they're going to ghost you for 4 days, that's again when, it's time to cancel it. I had the same thing happen last week. He messaged me right away, said he would pay in 3 days. Sure enough, I got the payment on the third day. If the buyer doesn't reach out, I cancel it in 3 or 4 days.
Give me my money, man.
Seems that a good seller is going to wait 3 or 4 days and then cancel it. If we keep reading, I wait as well. Communicate with communication. It always amazes me when people buy and bid on a card with money they don't have, or so for instance, the bid goes up, the card sells for $125 and they never pay, and then you're frustrated because the person was going to spend $120 on it. Why couldn't they have won it? And hopefully they would have paid. It is frustrating.
Sure, we'll eat our dinner right after you eat this.
When people win the auction on eBay and then they don't pay. It's very frustrating. It's sellers like you that make eBay a good place to buy of. It gives you 5 days to pay. I told the guy I'll pay on the 4th day because I got paid, but he canceled and blocked me. Yeah, but because that's happened before to sellers, and then they're like, well, forget this. This happened to me 3 or 4 other times and they didn't pay. So at this point, I'm not dealing with this nonsense. Yes, I've dealt with it many times myself. I have no problem waiting a few days if the buyer immediately asks. I've only ever had to cancel one sale for non-payment, and that's incredible. Unfortunately, I've had, only one for non-payment. How many sales have you ever had? 3? I'm sure not, but the next one's more how I feel about, or my experience. Fortunately, I've had 2 this month. Not big sales. One, I even practically offer combined shipping on 3 different small lots, sent the combined invoice, sent 2 reminders, and on the 4th day, I canceled when I got no response.
Give me my money, man.
Rest of the show is going to involve pop counts in some form or fashion. What do you consider a high pop count? This was posted a while ago. I thought it was a great question. I wish there was more comments. The first comment is exactly right. Depends on the year, the print run, blah, 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 the grade, everything else. I do agree with that. Like the other said, depends on the print run, and it's all relative is what this one's saying. Finally, we have anything over 100. That sounds ridiculous. Or anything under 100 is definitely a low pop count, but you can't say anything over 100 is high. It doesn't know. Here we have relatively new to trading cards. What does a high pop count mean? And that's great. I would assume most of you know what that means, but maybe not. I'm going to interrupt myself just to point a few things out and make it a little cleaner. On the left is what PSA provides. So that's the pop report. There's 41,592 total copies graded of this 1996 Kobe rookie card. That's a high pop count. There's a lot of them. In a PSA 10, there's over 4,000. And then you see in a PSA 9, over 19,000. On the right, we're looking at what Card Ladder provides. They have the up-to-date pop report as well as the price per card. It's kind of neat. And so anyways, that is what a pop count is. Before we move on, the pop count represents the supply in the formula of supply and demand here. So whatever the pop count is, the supply of the card, and generally the lower the supply or the lower the pop count, the more expensive the card, especially if there's demand for it.
Everybody that you fight is not your enemy, and everybody that helps you is not your friend. That's what life taught me.
Sticking with pop counts, how does cracking slabs affect pop counts? Again, kind of a rookie question, but most people assume in the card community you know what cracking slabs are or is, but I know there's a portion of people that watch this content that don't collect cards or not in the know, and so someone would crack a slab if they don't like the grade it got. For instance, here it's a high grade, it's a good grade, but it might sell more in a PSA slab. So you're going to crack this Beckett slab and then resend it into PSA, hoping it gets a higher grade and you make some money on it. It doesn't always work. There's a risk. You don't know what grade you're going to get, but it's a technique to make money. Are grading companies' numbers skewed if they don't know the slabs that have been counted? For instance, if you got this Will Greer card graded and it came back a 6 and you didn't like it, some people might crack it open. They think, no way, it deserves better. They send it back and it gets a 9. Well, now in the pop count, there's 2. Instead of, it's the same card, only one card's been graded, but the pop count is skewed because now they've graded the same card twice, and yeah, PSA or the grading companies don't account for that. It's still all relative. Every card out there has this problem, but yes, they are not true because some 8s or 6s or 4s have been cracked and regraded a second, third, fourth time, and that doesn't show up. It's not accounted for by the grading card companies. Until the end of the Olympics, we're doing one Olympic story, and I found this interesting. Skateboarding, 14 years old. Yoshi Koko of Japan. Fun name, Yoshi Koko. Captures Olympic gold medal in women's street. This was on Sunday, July 28th. It's also interesting because it's just a young woman's sport. We got a 14-year-old getting gold, a 15-year-old from Japan. Coco's also from Japan. Won silver, and a 16-year-old from Brazil won bronze. Incredible. Let's take a look if it was cool or not. My favorite part of this is after her run, just look how, well, it's just pure joy and love for the sport. I want to really hammer home how important pop count is. We'll do it with Pokemon cards. So this is the 1999 Pikachu. There's a couple Pikachus in the first set. This is the one with yellow cheeks here, first edition. So it has the first edition emblem. And there's only 700 in this grade, PSA 8. So a relatively low pop count, 700. It's currently selling for $146. Now, if we look at the same thing in a PSA 8, this is the non-first edition, but the big difference is the pop count. There's 3,000 of these. If there was just 700, you'd see that price still trickle up because there's demand for Pikachu in the beginning of Pokemon. However, there's 3,000 of these, and that's why it's currently selling for $15. So the first edition here, with just 700 of them, is selling for $146 currently. Now, some of it is, yes, this was the first print run, and Pokemon was very smart. I don't know if they did this on purpose or not, but the foresight to have this first edition on there, which makes the card 10 times more valuable. However, there's just 700 of them. When you jump to the non-first edition, there's 3,000. It's currently selling $15. Now, let's do the same experiment with a PSA 10. In a PSA 10, there's pushing 3,000. It's selling for $80. And if we scroll down, that is an accurate price. It's hovered about $80 for the last 2 years. So it's nice to see that it's held price. That actually is, I like that quite a bit. In a PSA 10, the non-first edition, $80. There's 2,800. Now let's jump to first edition, PSA 10. There's just 500, a little over. So the pop count is tremendously lower. It's rare with just 547. The demand is high for this first edition stuff because it's the first ever Pokemon set and it's the first print run. And it shows here that, hey, this is rare. Combined, there's close to 4,000 in a PSA 10. If we combine first edition, non-first edition, 4,000. However, you're telling me I got the more rare copy. I got the first edition copy where there's only 547 in a PSA 10, and that's why it holds this high premium price of $1,100. I want to do it with one other Pokemon card. Same set, $19.99. We have the non-first edition, no first edition label here. It's a PSA 8. There's 6,000 of them. That's not rare by any means. It shows the demand, by the way. There's 6,000. It's still saying it's a PSA 8. It's not 9 or 10. It's still selling for $150. So it shows there's demand for these cards. It was a high pop count. It could easily sell for less. It's the holographic Venusaur, non-first edition. Now let's check. I guarantee you this pop count is way less, and the last sold price is way higher. In a PSA 8, this has the first edition emblem. There's 500. So there was 6,000 in a PSA 8. There's just 500 in first edition PSA 8. And that's why it holds this crazy price of $1,700. And that's a pretty accurate price. It was selling for just under $1,500 2 years ago. So it's rolling. Most sales, by the way, in the past years have been under 1,500 in this chart, been very few above. But the most recent last two sales have broken $1,500 of this first edition.
Oh, there's the lovely Heidi, everybody.
And again, it's the pop count is low. And in my opinion, is I watch kids now are still collecting Pokemon. They know Pokemon. They are bringing Pokemon cards to school. They're ripping packs. If you go look at Pokemon YouTube channels, they're way higher than sports card YouTube channels. Pokemon has traction, and when these kids grow up, they're going to look back at the most vintage. And what's the most vintage? It's this 1999 stuff. And how do you separate it from the rare to the non-rare is the first edition emblem. And just real quick, in a PSA 10, in a PSA 10, what did we see over here? This is a PSA 10, same thing, just non-first edition. It holds a good price of $1,200, and it's relatively rare, just $500. In a PSA 10 first edition, there's only 144, and that's why it holds the price of over $12,000.
Ground ball, right side. Cabrera will cut it off. Galarraga covers. He's out. No, he's safe. He is safe.
At the beginning of the video, you said the worm, Dennis Rodman. You'd be right. This is 1988. I believe he's a rookie in 87. It was the 88 Fleer rookie card. In a PSA 9, it sold for $87. That's a steal, in my opinion. Hall of Famer, multiple-time champion, personality, and one of the best, if not the best rebounder of all time, and undersized at that. So in a PSA 9, it's $87. There's 3,000 of them, so a semi-high pop count. I can't believe the price. And yeah, it's been that price almost for the last 6 months. It's definitely had times where it was selling for closer to $120, but today you can get this card for under $100. And if you're a basketball fan, if you collect NBA rookie cards, run and go do that now. I mean, go get it now. And a PSA 10, it's going to be much more rare. I didn't expect it to be that much more. There's only 250 in a PSA 10. The price jumps to $1,800. It's so rare. I'd expect that price to also appreciate. I like this card quite a bit, especially the price. What is this sold over the past 2 years? It gone down semi. It was selling for over $2,000 generally up until May 2023. And then from there, under $2,000. Just had a light go off. I mean, how'd that do for me out of curiosity? It's still pretty well lit. Why'd that go off? That's not good. Anyways, yeah, so this Dennis Rodman card, PSA 10, it's held pretty steady value over the past 6 months, 2 years, selling for under $2,000. I think the move here, PSA 9, most people can afford that. Pop count semi-high, but there's barely anyone can afford the PSA 10. Or I guess it's semi-affordable now, but there's only 250 copies. Great card to own. Did it. We've gone 3 weeks in a row. I think, what is this, day 21, 22, 20, somewhere in there. I've posted over 25 days in a row to YouTube card content, trying to make this channel grow. Hit the like button if you're enjoying. Subscribe so you never miss a video. For now, I'm going 30 for 30 videos in 30 days, and then I'm going back to work. I'll continue Monday through Friday, hoping to release a video every morning, Monday to Friday. So subscribe if you have not. Thank you for watching. As always, have a great day.
What up, everybody? This is Robert Ory, a.k.a. Big Shot Bob, and you're watching Professional Sports Cards. Hey, by the way, go buy my rookie card.